question I asked you, I think, was, are there two World Cup contenders in this group? Obviously, Portugal coming up shortly. I'll ask you, could we just see a World Cup contender in Uruguay?
Oh, that was very scrappy. It was tough. It looked like neither team literally played the last 45 minutes not wanting to lose, happy with the point. Yeah, no, it's hard to say. You think Uruguay, they looked their age at times. Suarez looked like he was carrying around a bag of spuds on him there. He was slow, a couple of yards shorter than any of us watching would have remembered him at his peak. Cavani coming on didn't make any impact. Nunez out wide, I think he tried. He put a lot of effort in. He was maybe their brightest spark. Struggled with final ball and end product, but I feel he's wasted out wide. But you're having to play him out there to get Suarez and then Cavani into that central position because they don't have the legs to be out there. So listen, looking at that, it's hard to see Uruguay having a say later on in the competition.
Kevin said they both looked like they'd be happy to settle for the point. Looking at most of the Uruguayan players after that, they didn't look pleased.
No, there wasn't any particularly happy-looking heads on them. But the very tired-looking South Korean players at the end, it's saw in the footage, a few of them kind of slumped to the ground. They put in a huge shift. Like, they put in a massive amount of work. And I think what they did very effectively, as we said at half-time, we kept things in midfield as tight and congested, which made it all fairly scrappy. There wasn't any kind of open, lovely passages of play of football from either side. And I don't think either team can sit there on the pitch and think that they deserve to win. I don't think they can. I don't think either gave a performance which you thought, you know what, we did enough, we should have the 3 points. Both had chances. Crossbar was hit twice by Uruguay, but South Korean goalkeeper didn't have anything to do other than that.
Will we have a look at that? The post twice in either half for Uruguay.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, this is towards the latter stages of the second half with 10 minutes to go. Valverde picks up the ball, and then at this point, one of the things we said at half-time is, can the final ball be better? If there's a pass to be played, can it be done accurately? Can they take the attention? And this is a superb strike, but just hits the outside of the post. This is just before half-time. Godin, brilliant header, almost perfectly placed, right into the bottom corner, a couple of inches just side of the post. They'd have been 1-0 up, but it was a better game than the first one. I know there wasn't a goal, but it seemed to be a bit more hectic at times, a little bit more...
It was livelier. It was more energy.
Yeah.
The first game, Jesus, I've forgotten about that, thank God. No, there was more in that, and this has been not harsh on South Korea. South Korea put, as you said, a massive amount into it, made it really difficult for Uruguay. Uruguay tried, they just couldn't break them down. I would say Uruguay never tried to penetrate them too much. Everything went wide, and I know it went wide because Korea had everyone in the middle. They never even, I just felt, tried it a few times, made Uruguay think about it, go through the middle with a few balls. It seemed very easy for Korea to nullify Uruguay's threat.
But just remind me with the Paulo Bento, the Korean coach, like, he has got a bit of flack from the Korean fans. They weren't particularly happy with the way that they had been playing. But you seem to be suggesting that tactically he got it completely right. Yeah,
and he, in fairness, one of the reasons he gets a bit of stick, they have an Andy Reid figure in South Korea. Lee Kang-in is the player. He's in his early 20s, creative player. He's exciting the fans, and there just isn't a role for him in the starting lineup at the moment. He was one of the 3 players brought on with 15 minutes to go. So changes were made to bring about kind of a difference. But I don't think overall those South Koreans did enough to win that game. Even the chance they had at the end, I think Son had a shot from distance. That was more to do with an error from Rochet in goal. But a good point for both of them, again, given the layout of this group.
OK, well, they've opened up with a scoreless draw against Korea in a group that also includes Portugal. So, I mean, those ambitions surely from the Uruguayan fans, because they had this big backing from the Uruguayan fans as well, who all got behind this team and the belief that they can go very, very far in this competition. Yeah, listen, not writing them off straight away. It's the first game. They drew 0-0. It's not the end of the world. They've a point. They're off. You know, Argentina had taken that a few days ago. So I wouldn't say it's over for them or to be overly disappointed if I was a Uruguayan fan. I expected more from them today. I think we both did. We both thought they'd win the game, and you look at some of the quality they have. As I said beforehand, the worry we had for Uruguay was legs and maybe age, and some of their players are relying on. Suarez is 35 and I don't think looks fit.
and then bringing on another 35-year-old, I think, Cavani on for him.
He's 37.
37. Listen, I really liked him as a player, fabulous player, but 37 years of age, you want to be bringing on you're bringing on quality like France have. You want to be bringing on a Nunez or someone like that, not relying on a 35-year-old to bring on a 37-year-old. So that's where you question it. Godin, they were solid at the back. Godin again, age maybe when he comes up against speed, you'd worry for them, but at the end of the day, they got a point and they're off the mark in the group, and they still have a great chance of getting out of it.
See, it's more the fact that this group is tough as it is, although maybe it's a case that many of us were really writing off Korea. There was all this talk that they were so reliant on Son, who of course came into this game with that eye injury, as we were talking about. He hadn't played for several weeks anyway. So maybe it's just the fact that we underestimated what Korea might bring to the party.
I don't think it was just us or people in this side of the world saying that they were reliant on Son. That's what they say themselves, and I think that was the internal reaction when he got injured, because there was this panic that he was he was their main man, and he has been for quite a while. So I think that was a concern. But being the type of player he is, and this is different from, say, a player who relies on their physical strength or their energy levels or just being box to box or winning headers, what he can bring to a pitch is like moments of guile and precision and skill and vision. And I think they're the things that are harder to get back quicker when you've been out for a while. So I think that lack of match sharpness that you're going to lose by being out for several weeks, as he was, I think that's costs a player like that. So we didn't see much of that from his game today.
We saw a few little bits.
Little bits, not obviously to the level we've seen before, but the game was kind of scrappy. There wasn't a huge amount of chances. But I don't think overall, I think, given the group, I think this sounds very negative, but the main concern both of those sides would have had coming into today is just don't lose. This is too tight a group. There's two difficult fixtures coming. Just do not lose the first one.
But there's always a chance then you can pick off a goal. We showed that Uruguay hit the post a couple of times. Korea, they also had a late chance as well as that one we mentioned, the opening half.
It was more Rocher, the goalkeeper, he did a couple of bad clearances. It wasn't self-created, I suppose, per Korea. They did get pressure on. Son has a shot, gone wide, keeper has it covered, is on target. That was the best of their second half. First half, they had a really, really good chance. I think there's no danger here. Uruguay, everyone behind the ball. Moon Wan ends up getting a fine, and the only time he picked out someone in the box, one of his players, and Wang Zhou, be very disappointed with that. You see his reaction afterwards. You could see when he was being taken off near the end of the second half, he knew he'd missed a sitter. A sitter.
That's the moment,
yeah,
isn't it?
You want to hit the target.
Yeah.
I won't say it's a sitter, but hit the target, and then listen, keeper saves it. But he knows that's his. I've been to Korea, and if you're a hero there, you're an absolute mega star. You wouldn't believe it. We went with Reading in pre-season. We had a Korean player who was a superstar out there, and you just wouldn't believe the hero he'd have been. And I think you can nearly see that going through his head. If I'd have scored this goal in the World Cup 1-0 Uruguay, he'd be a superstar at home.
Because it wasn't a difficult chance. It was like all the work was done by a teammate. He found space. It was really poor defending, from the Uruguayan centre halves to give someone in that area that much time and space. And in a group that's going to be so close, but in a game that was as tight as this, to create a chance like that and not even hit the target, like not even work the goalkeeper. That's the big what if moment. That's the big if only moment that they'd be left with. It
was a super cross. You had questioned a lot of their decision making throughout that game, particularly in the final third of the pitch.
South Korea, there was just partly down to good, decent Uruguayan defending in the main. Like one of the things they do have, and you're asking the question there early, and we've asked this after each game, have we seen a World Cup winning performance, which is probably too premature to be asking at this stage.
Well, it's not the performance. Have you seen enough to
the quality? Yeah, but
they have what it takes.
And we've seen this from the Uruguayan team. There's a bite or a doggedness or a divilness or something in the Uruguayan team which I think will really get you very, very far in the tournament. But today they just snuffed out the Koreans enough that their own goalkeeper didn't have a great deal to do.
You mentioned Darwin Nunez, and obviously fans over here are going to be watching to see what it is he might bring. Raw was what you were suggesting, and the fact that he's able to dust himself off when things don't always go right. That was probably summed up in his performance today.
He is a work in progress. You can see so much more to come from. he was played slightly out position. He played out wide to the left, and it sort of nullified him. He puts in an serious amount of work. And these clips also show you what South Korea did to try and nullify him. He got fouled every time they got close to him. But I admire his work rate. He's played out of position. He's not sulking. He's still trying to do a job for the team. I don't think he'd get the best out of him out there. I think he's not the footballer out there. Here's his best chance. Goes at it with the wrong foot. Again, you're talking about someone technically learning and still not quite there yet. He'd have used his left foot, I think, if he had a chance. This one, again, better ball to him. He has a clear-cut chance on goal. Second half, again, down the side. Shows his pace. And I actually think he does the right thing here. Suarez was moaning afterwards, but it was a very difficult ball to pick him out. He tries to commit the defender in the box, and the keeper does well. I think this is one that ends up with him finally having an actual shot on target. Cuts inside, right foot, a decent effort, but he's stuck at it. For a player, listen, I would prefer him see through the centre. I know why Uruguay don't have him there, because they have other options and they're trying to get him on the pitch, playing him out wide and using his pace, but I think through the centre he's more effective. But I admire his tenaciousness, how he keeps at it. Talking about beforehand, miss a chance, he'll go again and he'll score one. And he will score if he gets more than one or two chances. That's, I suppose, the negative for him at the moment. He needs a couple of chances to score, but he's still young. Liverpool spend a lot of money on him, but forget about that. He's a work in progress, and I think he'll get better and better.
He also has two really experienced players playing alongside him in Suarez and in Cavani, who came on in the second half as well. Have you ever been in a position where there is a player like that who's bursting with potential and just needs help to maybe get to the level that he is capable of? I mean, he has the people who can help him do that, surely.
Playing with someone like that, Shane Long was very raw when he was younger. I remember when coming to Reading, and he had raw pace, and he needed help and he needed coaching, and he hadn't done, because he played Gaelic growing up and very little football, but he got coaching, I'd say if he'd have got more football coaching when he was younger again, he'd have had the ability to be a really, really top player. He was a top player anyway, but to get to the very, very top. But yeah, he was one I saw, sort of like Nunez, raw, maybe a couple of chances needed, but when you have that pace, you have half a chance, and you have that pace and you can get coaching, you're willing to learn, willing to listen. Nunez looks like that, willing to learn and listen. When I was younger with Shane Long, he was that type of player, willing to learn, willing to listen, willing to be patient and take his chance and look at older players and see what they did and always be on the lookout. I think Nunez will be that. Comes across that player, comes across a good guy who just wants to improve.
It's the amount of money, isn't it, that's been paid on him already, the huge amount of focus on him, particularly this side of the world, and seems a little bit more raw than you'd expect of someone who's been bought for that amount of money. But there's a wide range of experiences in that front line. You look at Suarez, was replaced by someone even older than him. Nunez is playing his first World Cup, and then young Pellistri, who's not even really established in club football yet.
I didn't hear his name mentioned.
What a big call to make from the coach, to play someone at this level, in this game, who's so inexperienced. He was a really surprise inclusion into the Uruguay setup earlier on this year, since January, I think, and then to go from there to being given a shirt from the start in this game, given his very little progress and this season in club football, that was huge. And I don't think it was a selection that particularly worked.
Cavani, he came on. We know he's been struggling with injury, and he has been this star for so long, and people still think that he has it within him to do it again. Did you see enough of him there to think that he'll be fit enough to offer it?
I do. When he comes on, he's a kind of player that excites me, because he's kind of all action. Like he's what is he 37? Is 37? So usually when you think of a 37, you think of someone who's very slow and immobile and a bit lethargic and is completely adapted. But every time he comes on, I think back to when he was at United, and he's closing down. He's all action. He's not immobile. He's not static. He's any of those things. He kind of excites you.
Look at his face. You see he's fit. You see his jawline. You see how he's match fit. A lot of times you just look at a player. You look at Suarez. Didn't look fit to me.
You may have mentioned that.
Looked to be carrying a bit. Just didn't look match fit. Cavani comes on, looks like a Greek god, looks like he's ready to go on. In fair, when he came on, he got a few touches, got involved, didn't get any chances, however, but he looked fit and he looked more mobile than Suarez did.
Could they do with having him in earlier if he's able for it?
He had an injury, so there's obviously, they're trying to gently maybe get him up to pace. He got injured in the last World Cup as well. He was brilliant for them in the last World Cup. Listen, 4 years ago, he's 37 now. He's 33 back then. It's a different Cavani now, but he got injured in that last World Cup because he was running end to end for 90 minutes in every game he played, and you think he nearly put too much into it. In the 90th minute, I remember one of the games they were winning 3-0 and he was still chasing back to win tackles in the last minute of the game. So I suppose they're trying to be careful. 37 years of age, had an injury. Maybe he gets a few more minutes in the next game, maybe starts the third game. It could be a vital game for them, and save him and risk him in that one.